So hi everyone. My name is Stephen Larkin. I'm a lecturer in the School of Architecture in TU Dublin, and I'm speaking today to a number of students from the School of Architecture at TU Dublin. So perhaps everyone could introduce themselves. Helen, would you like to start?
Yeah, hi, my name's Helen Prokofyeva and I'm a third year architecture student at TUD.
Sean?
Hi, I'm Sean Nolan, and I am studying Masters in Architecture in TU Dublin located in Lindenhall.
Danisha?
Hello, my name is Denisha Pyle, and I am an international student from Barbados, and I'm currently in fourth year.
Alana?
Hi, I'm Alana O'Reilly and I'm a fifth year student in Dublin School of Architecture.
And Linda?
Hi guys, I'm Linda Darcy. I'm a final year student in architecture as well.
Great. So thanks everyone. So if it's okay, we might just have a quick chat about your experience in architecture, I guess, to date. And maybe we'll keep it quite conversational. Maybe we'll do a round and maybe pick out particularities around how you found the school, what your experience, and especially for people who might be thinking about coming into the school and making that decision that you have all made multiple years since, I guess. So Helen, I mean, you had an interest in architecture from a very young age, and now you're in third year. So, and you've made some fantastic work, drawings and models, and some lovely studies of classic works of architecture. I mean, have you enjoyed those first 3 years of studying at TU Dublin?
Oh, yes, of course. Like I've loved all 3 years, even though kind of the past 2 years they've been obviously riddled with COVID, but it kind of didn't stop me from loving studying it, especially in TUD. The lectures, obviously, coming from the first semester of first year is very experimentational and like very fun, and then actually getting to know architecture, starting like the first principles and everything like that, and then kind of moving to second semester of first year to kind of taking it on my own, especially when COVID hit. But the lectures, like every email I sent to was always replied to within like the hour, and like it was always helpful, especially when you're like at home by yourself. I always felt like TU Dublin accompanied the situation and helped me personally get through it, like from my own laptop to TU Dublin's kind of lectures and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, even at like the lowest points, I said I had lots of fun and I loved studying anyways.
It's funny that, isn't it? Because normally studio culture, you're in studio with all of your colleagues. It must have been really hard to work from home in the COVID scenario. What's it like being back?
Oh, fantastic. We like in the studio, we've like brought in everything, all of my supplies from home. They're now in studio. It took a while to gather it. But it's great having the conversations with people because at home you just don't, like I can't turn to my mother and ask her. Like I just know that I have a table of 8 people, my own group, that I can just ask for feedback. So it's just amazing being back finally.
That's great. That's great. And we might, Sean, I mean, that thing of coming into, you're from Tullamore, proud Tullamore man. So what's that for you coming up to Dublin and starting college, which was what, 5 years now? 5, 6 years ago? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, Dublin is definitely a lot different than Tullamore. And yeah, it was about 6 years ago, but it was a totally amazing new experience. So that probably the biggest thing about moving to Dublin is that the fact that TU Dublin is located in the city centre. So the best thing about this is that the campus of TU Dublin is pretty much across the whole of the city centre. So this means that it extends the learning environment from outside the studio out into the city centre. And some of the good things about that is that it results in new experiences happening every day. And as well, there's not just you get a piece of everything. It's not just strictly to what you're studying in college. So you might be interested in certain parts of architecture, but then when you're out in the city centre, you get inspired by multiple things and new experiences. And what you might have thought was irrelevant architecture, you find some of those experiences kind of manifest in itself in some of your work.
And do you study the city centre then in your work? Do you go out and draw it, and do you record it, and do you make models of it? Those kinds of things when you were starting off, I guess. I know you're probably not doing so much of that now, but in your first 3 years.
No, we're actually still do. We still do
Are
a
you?
lot of that,
Fantastic.
and
Great.
it's actually it's actually a great experience to go out and be able to just sit down and observe everything around you. So
Great.
yeah, there's definitely still a lot of reflective pieces and kind of observing the world. And for an architect, one of the best ways to observe the world is to draw it.
Great. Thanks so much, John. Tanisha, talking about relocation, you're an international student from Barbados, and you're actually the first recipient of a Lewis Champion Scholarship in Argos Development Studio, and you work there as well, I think, which is all fantastic, I guess. So it must be quite a change of scene to come from Barbados to Dublin. Would you say TU Dublin was very supportive in that change, or getting to know Dublin, getting to know your fellow students and all of that?
Definitely. Well, as most people would know, Barbados is a very, very sunny place all year round. And coming to Dublin for the very first time was definitely a shock, especially with the climate and whatnot. But arriving here, it it brought a lot of interesting experiences, and the change in architecture was quite lovely in my opinion. Um, TU Dublin, they basically provided support in the sense that when you're an international student and you come to a new place, you experience this culture shock, and sometimes you miss your family, sometimes you miss your friends, and you might feel a little down. When the pandemic came around, that was basically like 2 years of isolation from uh, uh, the new friends that you've made and the environment that you've come to be used to, and you just look at your four walls. But basically, TU Dublin provided me with um, uh, the resources of a counselor, speaking to a counselor periodically, um, just to take care of your mental health. And sometimes you might feel a little bit overwhelmed with the work that you're doing. And I just want everybody to know that you have to avail of these resources, and lecturers are always there for you, and you should never ever hide away. So, yeah.
No, I completely
Very-
agree with that. Yeah, yeah. It's important, isn't it? I mean, finding yourself in a new place, and especially, I mean, everybody here has been dealing with COVID the last couple of years, which is incredibly tough. And especially in those kinds of circumstances, it's important. And also, just for getting on with work and so on as well, it's important that you're kind of vibrant and pushing forwards, which I think it's important to everybody. Thanks, Tanisha. And then Alana, I mean, talking more into architecture, you were interested in design, art, and architecture from a very young age. So you kind of had expectations coming into college, I presume. How was that? How have you found TU Dublin in terms of developing those early ambitions?
I've loved it, I guess. Architecture is very unique in that you kind of follow your passion. No one tells you, go do this right now. They say, maybe do that, maybe do that. What do you want to do? And then you get a really interesting atmosphere of people who have a very strong personality across architecture, following their own path. So even in our lecture staff, like each lecturer has their own style and passion, so that you always find someone to gel with because we have that diversity. So being in a studio, you get a very unique array of just so many things going on. So there's always something to talk about and someone else to help you design and move things along.
That's very nice, yeah. And so that's kind of interesting, isn't it? That design is just not one focused thing. It's more like a big landscape, and you get to track your own way through that landscape, and you get to pick out the people who help you do that best as well. I think that's important, and I think it's important to recognize that actually.
Especially with who your lecturer is, because we have a lot of teachers who are working architects as well, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
On the ground.
Yeah, myself included. Okay, Linda. So, I mean, you're a fifth-year student at this point, so you're nearing the end of your degree. So, what's it been like, I guess? Have you enjoyed it? Are you still enjoying it after 5 years, I guess?
I'm glad that it's my final year now. 5 years is a long time, but I've loved the course. That's not to say that there's not a lot of work involved. There is. It's a very intense course, but I think the friendships and the support from other students have kind of made it so enjoyable. But I think the reason that I chose TU Dublin, or the reason that I'd recommend it to other students, would be mainly because sustainability and practice and detailing to, make sure that the building stays up are really important to the course. So I'm kind of coming to the end of it and feeling quietly confident that, quietly confident to begin my life as an architect and get a job and work in practice.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So you think, and I think all of you have had different relationships with practice. I mean, you've all now worked in Dublin-based practices and practices all the way around the world. And I might pick that question up with you, Linda, to begin with. I mean, what's your experience in terms of the education you've received from TU Dublin? Did that put you in a good position for working in practices?
Yeah, so I decided to take a year out, like a lot of people, after third year, and I now worked in 2 separate internships. They were both Dublin based, as you said, kind of small enough offices, but they were working on different scales. And I think that TU Dublin did put me in a very good position. I mean, you're an intern, so they're not going to expect you to, design a whole building or detail the whole building. But, I had a good understanding of planning applications, and I was well able to use any of the software that they needed me to do, for survey drawings. But I think then the internships themselves were a great experience for me coming back into the college to finish the last 2 years, because I was more confident in my abilities, and I was able to work a bit faster and manage my time well. So it all stood to me. I learned so much through the internships as well.
We're running out of time, so I'm going to skip through a couple of quick fast questions, if that's okay. Denisha, I mean, clearly you've worked in architecture all around the world, so you must see TU Dublin. Would you say TU Dublin is especially good at setting you up to be able to travel, to be able to practice internationally as an architect, so on?
Definitely. Coming from Barbados, obviously, when I came here, the way that architecture is done is very, very different. Before I left Barbados, we were in a very tight-knit, intimate office. We didn't know much about building information modeling, so the design process was very conventional. When I came to TU Dublin, we had the opportunity to at least start with certain software in building information modeling, and we're currently still working on that throughout. So whatever I learn within TU Dublin, I implement that within my part-time job so that I could work efficiently with my team members.
That's fantastic. So you're bringing stuff back into the practice and changing the way your practice operates. That's fantastic. Great. And Alana, I mean, you're particularly interested in climate change and climate resilience, and I guess TU Dublin, I suppose that's we're very focused on that as well. How do you find? You also won an award from the RAI, isn't that right? For sustainability design. So I mean, that stuff. Sorry. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I've interrupted you. So
I guess that's what was a big part of the reason why I decided to come here, was coming along. They were starting to make moves towards making like climate crisis and learning about the resilience of building and design. It's a focus of the school, and it's become it's taken a leap to be center of everything now. But it's been enjoyable because then they've gotten experts in and different people to talk to kind of really understand that, because architecture is so important in that kind of race against the climate crisis.
It is. It's important, isn't it? And it's really great to see, like yourself and others, developing those ideas. So and it's really important, I guess, that the community of students lead that charge in a way, because it's your inheritance in a way, right? And Linda, we've already talked about, I guess, your experience year out. We might go back to Helen. Helen, we got cut off earlier, so we were just talking about how. Like you didn't have any experience of making models and drawings when you entered college, and now you make fantastic models and drawings. I mean, your portfolio is very beautiful. Do you want to? Were you worried about that coming into college, or did you find that transition okay?
Thank you. Yeah. I kind of going into the course, especially with the interview and the kind of the test you do before coming into the course, at least when I did it, I was very worried that I like wasn't suited for it, or like that it wasn't for me. I was very scared. Like I was scared to go in the doors being like, oh, I don't know anything. Like I didn't study physics. I only did art for like a tiny bit, but it wasn't anything like head turning. Like it wasn't like Picasso work. And kind of studio at least let me try it out in first year, and then I kind of took it upon myself to kind of test my limits and then see how far I can like bring my skills. Like I remember as a kid, I loved playing with pasta and gluing it together. That was the only model making skills I had beforehand. And I think I've really progressed, and like TU Dublin has really helped me, especially with the lectures. Like, oh, go make a model of that, and you'd like be like, I don't even know where to begin. They would just say, do it, and then you just do it, and it was great. Like you just ended up happy with a result, and you got better every time you did it. So it was just kind of great going from like zero experience to now like being confident in myself in my model making skills.
Brilliant. Well, I think I would echo that, and I presume everybody else does as well. I think we're out of time. So listen, thanks so much everyone for, I think it's been really helpful, and hopefully it'll be informative to people who are considering the course. So back to work in studio. Thanks everyone.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.